Hey everybody, it's Sam with Mesa, and I'm here at a property that was just freshly renovated. It looks really good. I'm going to show you in a little bit, but it's got fresh paint, new floors, and I was thinking to myself, you know what, I really need to do a video about this because not only does this property look great, but it made me think of a conversation I had earlier today with a different homeowner who was trying to decide what he was going to do with his property that had a tenant that just moved out and needed to get fixed up and ready to be rented again. So whether you're thinking about renting your house for the first time, whether you want to sell the property, or if you're a seasoned investor and another tenant moved out and it's time to do another rehab, this video really is for you. So there's kind of two mindsets that I want to address when it comes to contractors, and the two things that owners have in their mind that are reasonable. One is, hey, maybe I'll just do this rehab myself. And two is, maybe I should get multiple bids from different contractors for the same job and then pick the one that's most cost effective in order to proceed with the work. So I'm gonna tell you in this video why I think you should get one estimate and then you should go with a contractor that you already know and trust. And this is from the perspective of an owner who has your property professionally managed by a property management company, not necessarily somebody who's new to this or is trying to find a vendor off the street. So this is the house that we're in, and I really think that you would agree as a property owner that you would love to have your property look like this prior to getting it rented out or sold. So without further ado, let's get into it. First mindset that people have is, I'll just do this rehab myself. And that's one that I'm pretty comfortable with. I can understand where that thought process comes from. You know, I'm a homeowner, own my house, and I own rental property, and I can understand, you know, wanting to save a little bit of money. Hey, I've got a paintbrush and I can lay some laminate plank. YouTube teaches you everything you need to know. I mean, you're watching this YouTube video right now, aren't you? And you're learning something. So I get that mindset. I've painted my own house, the house that I live in. You know, hey, on the weekend, get a paintbrush, do the walls. It was terrible, to be honest, but it was my house and it felt good. And yeah, you know, I'm painting my house and this is cool. I'm putting some sweat equity into it. But that's my house, because you know what's different about my house versus a rental is that I wasn't losing any money while my house was being painted by me on the weekend when I felt like it. My house was doing what it needed to do for me, which is provide a roof over my head for myself and my family. A rental property is not your primary residence. It's different. Or a house that you have vacated and are getting ready to sell. Because every day that that thing sits vacant, you are losing money. This rents are high right now. It's no secret. $3,000 a month is not out of the realm of possibility in a lot of the areas that we manage property in. So if you take a $3,000 a month rental and decide to make it your weekend project for laying floor and painting, what's that going to take you? 4 weeks at the best? Probably 6, 8, who knows? Something comes up, you got, can't go this weekend, got to deal with this thing that came up. And next thing you know, that house sits vacant for 2 months at $100 a day if we're talking $3,000 in rent. That's crazy. I don't know why you would want to do that. So people don't always think about the long-term effects of a short-term gain, meaning if I can save the money now, I don't want to spend $4,000 to get my house painted. That's a lot of money. So they sit on it for 2 months while they do it themselves. It sucks. It ruins their weekend. They don't have any life, any time outside of work. For that period of time, it's just working on their rental property. And then at the end of it, it sat for 2 months. It lost $8,000 in rent as a result of that, or $6,000 in rent as a result of that. And next thing you know, it really wasn't worth it to begin with. So the mindset of I'll do it myself, unless you can get it done in 4 or 5 days like a contractor could, it's probably not worth it to do it yourself just for the vacancy costs alone, because every day, again, that a $3,000 a month rental sits on the market, you're talking about $100 a day that you're losing just to allow that to happen. So great, I've convinced you. You're off of wanting to do it yourself. But now you say, hey, Sam, I want to get 3 bids from 3 contractors for the same job. Yeah, that makes sense. And honestly, it does. It really does. I'm not trying to be sarcastic about that. From a perspective of someone who doesn't know the vendors and has never worked with the specific vendors before, it makes complete sense to me that you would want to see multiple bids. Because why? I want to make sure I'm not getting ripped off. I want to make sure I get the best price. And that's actually not the best way to go. And I'll tell you why. One is, if you're working with a property management company, you have, I would call it relationship equity. Okay, so a property management company is doing multiple flips every single month. So they have these relationships with vendors that far exceed the relationship that a single owner could ever have with a vendor. Because from a vendor's perspective, when they rehab a property that's under professional management, they're not working with the property owner, they're working with the management company, who they have 3 other active rehabs in progress on, who they trust, and who they know that they're gonna get a ton of more business in the future, so they have no interest and no incentive to rip off a management company. You, on the other hand, even though you may have 4 or 5 rentals, potentially, if you have tenants that are staying for 3 to 5 years on 4 or 5 rentals, you're doing maybe 1 rehab a year. So 1 rehab a year versus maybe 10 a month on a management company, that's a huge difference. So even the relationship that you have as an individual property owner with a contractor may be very good, but it can't touch a management company that's doing it at scale. So you have to keep that in mind, because it's understandable to me when somebody says, I don't trust a contractor, I want to see multiple bids so I can get the most. But from a management company's perspective, we know the contractor, he's not going to rip us off. He does work on houses that we own ourselves. And sending multiple guys out when you know you're going to go with the best guy, who you already know is the best because you've used him before, is what makes the most economical sense. And you also have to realize, to go along with this, where contractors are in this current environment. We just got the numbers, 8.5% inflation. We know I don't have to tell you, and I sound like a nightly newsreel, that labor shortage, supply chain, blah, 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 right? So getting a contractor to even show up to work when he's getting paid is already a challenge. Getting a contractor, much less 3 contractors, to show up and bid a job for free, it's just not going to happen. There's a whole line of people, cash in hand, saying, please come to my house, please do this work, Mr. Contractor, I just want it done. And he's so busy he can't even get to his paying customers. Where are you going to find 3 guys who are worth their salt, who are going to actually go to a house for free, write up a bid, and hope that you choose them? I think that there's this mindset among property owners, unfortunately, that the contractor's like sitting on his couch at home, and we call him up and we say, hey, Bill, the contractor, would you go bid this job for me? And Bill's just so excited to have something to do that day to go bid it and come back and give his price so that you can look at it and compare it and say, hey, I actually got a cheaper one from this guy. Can you match it? And Bill's like, well, yeah, I mean, I got nothing else to do. I'm just sitting on my couch. I might as well match it. That is not contractors today. Contractors today are paintbrush in one hand, cell phone in the other, and you call him up and say, hey, I need a favor, can you do a bid for me? And he's like, dude, I've got 5 open jobs right now, I'm working 7 days a week, but I know that you guys give me good business and I know I'm going to get this job. Absolutely, I'll make time to go get that estimate for you. And you want to understand that they are estimates, not bids. If you think of them as bids, then the word context makes sense, that a bid means that there's multiple. I'm going to bid, you're going to bid, she's going to bid, and we're all going to throw our bid in and hope that the owner chooses us. You really should think of it as estimate. It's completely reasonable to want to know how much the job is going to cost before it starts. I have no problem with that, neither does a contractor. But that should be the main purpose, is that you just want to know how much it's going to cost so that you can prep for it. And before you even get to that point, we got to back up a little bit and talk about budgeting. You need to know how much ballpark something should cost. And a professional management company will be able to do this for you. Again, 3 to 5 jobs at a time running from a management company. They know pricing. How much does it cost to paint a 2,000 square foot house? How much does vinyl plank cost versus laminate versus carpet? How much is it going to cost for me to do these plumbing fixtures, new light fixtures, new garage door, whatever it is that you need? A management company that's good will be able to ballpark it for you. So you're not going, okay, am I spending $5,000 or $50,000? I really have no idea. You should know upfront before you call a contractor about how much it's going to cost for what you want to do and what you want to spend. If you've only got 10 grand, and you send a guy out to do a bid, or I should correct myself here, an estimate, and he comes back and says, okay, here's your $40,000 estimate, but you only had $10,000 to begin with, that's a problem, because you wasted his time, you wasted your time, there's no way you're going to be able to do it, and then you want to go back to the estimate to the contractor and say, okay, well, I want to do this line item and this line item and this line item, only take everything else off. And there's 2 problems with that. One problem is that oftentimes contractors will bid an entire job, and you like to see it itemized, but contractor goes in and looks around and he says, all right, I got to do paint and floor, that's kind of standard. Got these little knick-knack, tic-tac things that they want me to do as well, some handyman type stuff, fixing some leaking faucets, and it's probably going to take me 3 guys, I'll be here for 5 days, I got to make this much money in order to pay my guys, I like to take a little bit off the top of that as well. So that's about a $20,000 job, because the contractor knows too. And then he goes and bids the hard stuff, the how much does the paint cost and what's that going to be, how much is the flooring going to cost, and so what's that going to be to install it. But all the little stuff is oftentimes just thrown in. So what you'll do is you'll itemize it out and say, hey, I got a burnt out light bulb over here, I got a leaking faucet over here, you know, all these little things. And then I also want you to do full carpet and full paint. So you get the estimate back and you go, oh, that's a lot of money. Well, hey, I'll just take off the carpet and paint. He can just do the little stuff. That contractor is going to say, no thanks, I've got other full jobs that I can do, and I'm going to go do those where I'm actually making money instead of coming and doing your little handyman jobs. So that's just something I want to address as well. When you go to pick at an estimate and kind of a la carte it, this isn't a la carte. You're getting the full menu, or else the pricing will most likely change. And the other thing is just the how hard the contractor has to work in order to get the job is also a factor. So if that contractor, again, you can't think of the contractor as Bill on the couch, just so excited when the phone rings. You got to think of the contractor with 5 jobs at once, paintbrush in one hand, cell phone in the other, trying to make some time to get this estimate for you because he values the relationship that he has with the management company. So if you come back to him and say, hey, take the paintbrush out of your hand for a second and go through and mark all this stuff out, give me new pricing, you run a pretty high risk that guy's just going to say, forget it, I'm done, I don't have time, I'm going to my paying customers who are begging me to come work for them, and I'm just going to do that. One other thing as it pertains to multiple bids. So if you have multiple contractors, which if I'm honest, we definitely do, because you know, we have multiple rehabs going at one time. One contractor can't possibly do all of them. So we do work with multiple different general contractors. And if all of those guys know that every time I send them to get an estimate that they're going up against 2 other contractors, one, they very well may just say, no thank you, because they know we're always going to come back and work them. And even if they are willing to go, then they'll go and they'll mark up their prices in expectation that we are going to inevitably come back to them and try and drive them down because we got it cheaper somewhere else. Or they're just not going to get the job because one guy will always undercut the rest. So it's really hard to maintain good relationships with contractors if they know that every time they give you an estimate, they're going to have to negotiate with you. That's terrible. Imagine the last time you bought a car and you go there and you're negotiating with them. It's draining. It's exhausting. Unless you're the kind of person who likes that, and hey, kudos to you if you are. That's definitely not me, but that's definitely not our contractors either. If they have to get worked every time by us or by the owner indirectly through us or by the owner directly, there have been owners who have called the contractor directly, which is a different topic for a different video. But if they know that's happening every time, they will make it more expensive so that they can come down. They will start high and give some room so that they can negotiate and say, sure, I'll lop off a couple $100 in order to get the job. No contractor is going to put up with that. And guess what? Once they know that this specific company that we work with, whenever we go out for an estimate, this is the kind of stuff that they do. If they even go out at all, which they probably won't, they'll put you at the very bottom of their priority list because nobody has time for that. So the contractors that most management companies, certainly us that we work with, they give us the best price the first time. There's no room for negotiation. We already know, because of the relationship that we have established, that the price that they give us is good and it's also final. So that's why I would not recommend doing the work yourself. If it's your own home, hey, go for it. Sweat equity, I love it. I'm there with you. I'll be painting my house myself on the weekend as well. Rental property, I'm sending a contractor every time, because even though I have to spend more money than it would cost for me to do it myself, it's going to get done faster, more efficiently. It's probably going to be better quality, as much as my pride hurts me to say that. And it's going to get on the market sooner, which is going to mean more money in my pocket down the road. Minimizing vacancy is the biggest challenge that a landlord has, and it's the most effective way to reduce expenses on a rental property. Vacancy is so expensive, $100 a day on a $3,000 rental. That is not something to just ignore. So don't do it yourself. And then when it comes to multiple bids, trust your management company, trust the relationship equity that you get out of working with a management company. That's a huge benefit that people don't think about. And when they bring you an estimate that is reasonable and it's from a vendor that they said they've done a ton of work with before, especially if they can say something like, hey, we own property and this is the guy that we use and he's really good. That's the guy that you want to go with. Don't waste his time. Know what you want to do going into it so that you're not asking him to estimate items that you know you have no way to pay for. I'm not going to have him bid the roof. If I have no way of paying for that. He comes back with 15,000. I'm like, oh man, I got like 200 bucks. I can't do that. You don't want to do that. So be realistic about what your project's going to cost. Get a management company to ballpark it for you to help you with that, and then go in prepared and ready to spend the money that he's going to come back and tell you. It's more of him just letting you know this is how much it's going to be. Get him to start that work, get your property ready, and start making money. Go sell it or go rent it or whatever, but turn that cash hole of an asset that's just sitting there, not making you any money, into something that is generating revenue for you. So that's my tip of the day. I hope that's helpful. If you have any questions, contact us, Mesa Properties. You can find us online, or if you're already one of our owners, I hope this was educational and beneficial for you. Thanks.